All right, Thursday afternoon. I just got back from Santa Clara. To everybody watching live on YouTube, what's up? If you're watching not live, what's up? Either way, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Helps the channel grow. Helps other people find it, and makes you feel good. Makes us feel good. So thank you, Guy Solo here because today is about practice grades from today's practice and 5 days of practice data. Now, let me explain where Guy Football Focus came out of. It started as kind of a joke to myself because everybody posts practice stats for the quarterbacks. And I've said for a couple years, I don't particularly care about practice stats, especially practice to practice. Now, for those who keep it, it's good. I like knowing what I saw. And definitely on the basis of like several years, it's interesting to know. But I don't put any stock, and I've said this for a couple of years. I don't put any stock in practice completion percentage or that kind of thing. So what I wanted to do is there was this big debate for several weeks. Who's better in practice? Is it Trey? Is it Darnold? Is it Purdy? My opinion, without any data to support it, but what I felt, what my eyes told me, and what I said was, I think they've all been kind of the same. That's what I said about 2 weeks ago. You guys have all been the same. Doesn't mean they are the same player. Doesn't mean they will be the same in games. But as all these opinions were forming about what was happening in practice, I decided I'm going to grade throws for myself is what I saw play after play after play after play, all the little minutia of a training camp practice. Does that match with what I feel at the end? Just like in my brain kind of takes everything you see and goes, I think I think Darnold was better today. I think Trey was better today. I think Brock's better today, whatever. Now, keep in mind, I don't think Brock being better Monday, but not better Tuesday, being better Thursday, but not better Friday matters because he's the starting quarterback. So what matters for him is the game. But what did Kyle Shanahan say yesterday when asked what's going on with the quarterback battle? He said they're still battling for number 2. And that was his nice answer, I think, because you'd be hard-pressed to have watched the preseason game against the Raiders and think that Darnold and Lance are on even footing. I don't think they are. I think Darnold is ahead of them. But we did a whole lot of that talking kind of big picture yesterday. What I wanted to do today was just show you all the work I've been putting in, but I'm not going to take you through every throw. I'm not going to take you through any throws, in fact. What I've been doing is using the Pro Football Focus scale for grading that they use in seasons. 0 graded throws are your basic throws. They define it as the reasonable and expected throw. And then there's plus and minus. Plus 2 is the highest, minus 2 is the worst in increments of 0.5, minus 0.5, plus 0.5. Okay. So those all equal grades. And so here are the grades. 5 days. This is this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Last week, Monday, Tuesday. I was not at the Raider practices. So I just wanted to wait. Let's accumulate 5 days of grades. Does it match up with what I think I've seen? Here we go. Here we go. Guy Football Focus, brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, crafted to be savored responsibly, however you like to drink it. John needs it straight after I regurgitate GFF data to him. And we agreed. I talked to Kawakami today, Tim Kawakami. He's like, I agree. The GFF data is not good on a podcast. It's hard to consume. I'll listen anyway. I was like, thanks, Tim. Very nice. But I agree. But this is not a podcast. This is a YouTube-only production with visuals and chest hair. So, Tito's Handmade Vodka, however you like it. The weekend is here. We are 1 week away from Caleb Williams defending his Heisman, starting week 0, I guess, USC San Jose State. 1 week away. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I was thinking I might actually put up something that Thursday before or after the game because I'm so excited for college football. All right. I've told you about the grading. So here we go. 5 days of data on Brock Purdy. This is what we've got. Keep in mind, I'm not looking at Purdy in the same boat as Darnold and Lance. Okay. Those two guys are in a competition, although I don't think there's much competition going, but here we go. 86 throws for Purdy in those 5 practices. Of those throws, 24% of them were I graded as plus throws. That can be a plus 0.5 or a plus 1. No one's thrown a plus 1.5 throw. 62% of his throws are 0 grade throws. That's you did what you were supposed to do, right? That is a check down, you hit the guy. That's a bubble screen, you hit the guy. That's a tight end in the flat, you hit the guy. That is even some medium throws. If you're 15 yards down the field to the sideline, maybe a tough throw, maybe a tight window, now I'm getting into the plus 0.5 throws. But these are the majority of your throws. For NFL quarterbacks, the 0 throws the majority, especially in this offense. We know that's the majority of the throws. So 62% of his throws were 0 grades. That's good. 86% then when you combine the two were positive results, right? 86% of his throws were the machine worked on that play. The machine is moving. And when you watch practice, to me, so much of it is about just keep the machine moving, okay? 14% of his throws were negative grade throws. That's a negative 0.5, that's a negative 1, or that's a negative 1.5. The negative 0.5s tend to be bad throws that weren't interceptions. For me, the negative 1 and the negative 1.5s were picks. A pick 6 or a red zone interception, those are going to be your negative 1.5 throws. So I combine those here. All in all, his overall grade, 5 days, was 0, which is solid. That is expected level. It was a 0 grade for him over the course of 5 days. For Trey Lance, 30 total throws over the 5 days. Not a lot of throws. 13% were positive. 70% were expected level throws, and 17% were negative. I'll show you all of these together in a second. And finally, Darnold, 36 throws, 22% plus throws, 61% were 0 grade. So you're seeing all these are pretty similar, but I'll show you all of them together. And 8% negative throws. So those are your, that's a low number for Darnold. So now let's look at all these together. If I can. I'll make myself a little smaller. And there you go. So now you can see them all together. 5 days of data. You can see how many more balls Purdy throws than the other two guys. And you can see that Purdy, in the end, has the most plus throws. That actually happened today. He had 4 plus throws. Coming into today, Darnold actually had more plus throws than him. This is not counting the preseason game. And you can see 86%, 83%, 83%. All about the same in terms of keeping the machine moving. From a negative throw percentage, Darnold really sticks out there in a positive. Purdy's percentage was 14%. And Lance's percentage was 17%. Now, not all those percentages, not all those negative throws are equal, right? Some of them are, for Lance, it might be a bunch of negative 0.5s, right? A airmail in the flat. For Purdy, it was more a negative 1, a negative 1.5 interception. So those are all created differently. The final scoring for them was Purdy was at a 0 grade. I told you over 5 days. Lance was at a negative 0.5. It was a plus 2.5 for Darnold on those grades. So a 0 grade is just expected. Lance was negative 0.5, so just under expected. Darnold was above expected. And you can see like Purdy has a higher plus percentage than the other two, but Darnold has a much lower negative percentage of his throws than the other two. So all those things are made up differently. And we'd have to go deeper into kind of the grades to really understand, wait, Purdy throws so many more picks. Why is his percentage of negative throws lower? Well, he's got more balls to throw. He's making more positive throws, right? You can see that. He's making more positive throws than Trey is. And so even though some of his negative throws are interceptions, which are going to hurt his grade more, right? Like, because you might look at it and go, God, so many negative throws. Yeah, my math is off for Darnold. Hold on a second. Let's do this math real quick. Where'd my phone go? Here we go. So Darnold was 3. Glad somebody said that. 3. I just did this on the fly here. Divided by 36 is 8. 22 0 throws divided by 36 is 61. And 8 divided by 36 is 22 plus 61. Math live, bad content. Don't let anybody tell you differently. So that was here, updated math coming to you in 1 second. 24% positive. 22 divided, I had my total was off 67. 3 divided by 33 is 9. Okay, so Darnold's actual numbers are 24% positive, 67% 0, and 9% negative. So it doesn't change. That negative number is the important number, I think, with him. It does change his total to like keeping the machine moving to 91%. Thank you to the person who noticed that the math was wrong. Devin. Thank you, Devin. So math is fixed, but I can't show you that. Well, no, I can't show you that right now. Darnold had 3 more throws than he should have been throwing. It made the numbers off. But there you go. That's about what my eyeballs told me, is they're all kind of close. And that Darnold's big plus right now is, unlike in his regular seasons, he has kept the machine moving, right? That was part of the problem with him over 55 starts. Kept the machine moving, and didn't turn the ball over. He did turn the ball over. In practice, that's been different. GFS still has some bugs to work out. Yeah, like GFS does have some bugs to work out, like some bad math there. Live math. Here's a little math thing for you. I do a lot of play-by-play on TV. And if you're doing a basketball game or a football game, but it happens a lot in basketball, you'll get like, you're going to commercial break and they'll throw the score up, right? And it'll say, what's a little bit of like challenging math would be like 73 to 56 would be the score, right? And you're going to commercial break, and it's, you're saying you're 10, 9, 8, 7, and they throw, and Henderson with a dunk, and the Dogs lead by 73 to 56 count. You got to know your strengths, know your weaknesses. And I know better than to keep the numbers are a lot here, and I know better than to do the math live. Anyway, maybe we'll do another video where we update the math. A couple other things from Niners practice today. Darnold's numbers today, I was 1 of 7. There were 2. Cameron Latou dropped 2 balls today. It's not going well for him from a pass catching standpoint, and he is at risk of not making the 53-man roster. Keep in mind, he was picked 101. He was, Jake Moody was picked 99. So right now, pick 99 and pick 101 are probably more in the spotlight than you'd like them to be. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's trouble. That's not good, right? That is not good. So I'm just double checking something here. Oh, I see where the problem was. 22, 17, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not good. So they did something I'd never seen today in a practice. And Peter King was staying next to me. I said, Peter, have you ever seen that? And he was like, no, I don't think I have. The Niners did I'm sure somebody's done it. Special teams coaches think of every eventuality and they do it. I'm sure they do it. But today the Niners, in their field goal part, after they went red zone, field goal team, and then Brian Schneider, the special teams coach, called a timeout. They worked on freezing that. They did a freeze kicker drill today because the other day, remember, Josh McDaniels tried to froze Jake Moody. Surely somebody in the Big Ten tried to freeze Jake Moody before. Did nobody in the Big Ten freeze Jake Moody? Well, Josh McDaniels did it the other day. Moody misses the kick. Today, the Niners did a freeze kick drill. And, Moody said the other day after the game, maybe I need to work on my freeze kick routine. So then he jogs to the side and practices. Then he jogs back out. And it was weird. Not weird, but just I hadn't seen that one before. Not ideal. Maybe that's the better way to put it. Yeah, so I think Latu's at risk for sure. I mean, but he'll be at practice squad. Ilm Manning. I mean, Ilm Manning, again, momentum today. Chris Forster talked about him before practice today at the tackle. And they have not had a lot of success so far in this training camp with their other potential tackles. And it looks like Ilm Manning, like, they're not viewing the success that he had. He had a good preseason game the other day. So number 60, the rookie out of Hawaii, he does not have your prototypical size. In fact, other than Jason Poe, he might be their shortest kicker, offensive lineman. I said kicker because Matthew, yes, he did make the kick. Moody did make the kick. Thank you. So that's something to watch for on Saturday. Anyway, we'll see what Purdy does in terms of opportunity. He did practice a lot today. If Moody can be frozen in the preseason, that's not good. Wow, you're telling me Peter King, who visits every camp around the country this year, hasn't seen this before? He just kind of was like, yeah, he reacted like, that was interesting, not so much. Oh my God, I've never seen that before. That's not what he said. Darnold only adds up to 91% LMAO. Yeah, like we said, this is why the spreadsheet is actually the better way to do this than hand math. Trade Trey and Sam for Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is just one person. Trey and Sam are two people. Don't do that trade. You need multiple guys. Yes, he made the kick after the timeout. Tobin says this team really needs depth at O-line and edge. I agree, and those are hard to find. Judd said, guys, stop milking it. Tell us who was good, for fuck's sake. You're speaking high Valerian, and we don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't watch Game of Thrones either. Was that a Game of Thrones thing? Alex said, did Adam Peters not take into account catching the ball when drafting Latu? Seems like a prerequisite for the position, question mark. I think it's, I was having this conversation yesterday out at Niners practice with a couple guys with Biederman and Nick Wagner about like the difference between drafting in the 3rd round and drafting in the 5th round. Like they draft defense well. They're going to have a 7th round linebacker and an undrafted linebacker, Jalen Graham, who was undrafted, who was the 7th rounder. Well, I guess not undrafted, 7th out of Purdue. D Winters out of TCU. Like they're going to have late round linebackers probably make this team. They may not make it through waivers if you try to put them on practice squad. And they've been, good players. So like they draft that well, but is there some sort of flaw when you're trying to hit on a high ceiling guy or like a developmental guy like Latu, where you're more likely to miss when you're trying to take that level of player? I don't know, but it feels like Willis, who's the undrafted guy, not it feels like, he does. Braden Willis out of Oklahoma has been the more reliable guy in practice. Latu had one kind of off his hands today in the red zone and another just straight drop. So yeah, it's not been great. Guy says Hawaii weird. Try to give them the proper respect. Dan says the fact that it's been so quiet on Bosa front tells me they're going to announce something soon out of the blue at some point. Yeah. John and I talked about this yesterday on the podcast. If you want to watch that, or you can listen to that. I think we both put the date at next week. Like if something's not done next week, partly because that's the date that John Lynch said he likes to have a guy 3 weeks out from the season make it to training camp. And so we're looking at 3 weeks next week. So I think next week is when you start kind of worrying. Jets gang asked, How did 1 of 7 Sam Darnold look? It was his least accurate day for sure. He had a throw over the middle. I graded it as a 0 throw because I thought it was a difficult throw. I didn't think it was an automatic throw, but he did not give the tight end Fumagalli, I think in this case, a chance to make the play. Maybe he's throwing it to another guy. It's to a faster player. Maybe that's a catch. I thought about giving it a negative 0.5, but I ultimately graded it a 0. He had 2 drops by Latu. He had kind of a difficult angle throw in red zone that he threw away. So it was not his best day. He's definitely had better days. You would not have come away today and said Brock Purdy was the best quarterback today. And he gets the most throws. He gets by far the most throws. And yes, he's going against the ones. He's going with the ones. Neuralizer. Some guys turn it on in real games, but if you can't catch passes in practice, you're not catching them in real games. I think to a degree, Juwan Jennings is kind of like that, but Juwan catches a lot of balls in practice. He does sometimes drop a pass in practice, although less and less. I feel like in camps previously, I've noticed more that he will drop the ball sometimes, but he's been good in this camp. Jennings has been kind of quietly good in this camp. And I say quietly just because, Ayuk's gotten a lot more of the attention. But Jennings in game also, Jennings catches so many high pressure, big situation balls, and you don't really get that in practice. In games, 3rd and 9, gotta have it. Jennings is very reliable. Kamal says too much over analysis on practice. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's as simple about how much weight do you put on it. I don't put a lot of weight into all of this stuff. We put all the weight into the games. Now, practice matters to a point. Some jobs are won and lost. Depth charts can be made based off of practice. You got to get into the game, and to get into the game, sometimes you have to earn that in practice. But as I said at the beginning, I didn't start grading throws to decide who the best quarterback is or who the second best quarterback is. I decided to experiment with grading throws to see if it matched, if what I thought in the moment matched up with what I thought after the fact, when my brain just kind of took all the information and gave me a general conclusion. And I think, as I've kind of looked at it, that it matches with what my general conclusion is. So yeah, the math was off on Darnold a point or 2 or 9 percentage points. I went back and redid it, and I got the same result. Because, I mean, we're talking about 36 throws over 5 days. That's nothing. 36 practice throws with all these different variables over 5 different days, or 30 for Trey, or even 86 for Brock. 30 Trey throws over 5 days. That's 1 game's worth of throws spread out over 2 weeks. That is not even close to game reality. So I agree. There is too much over analysis. Some people put too much weight on it. I talk about it. We've talked about it a ton because that's what we've gotten to see. But I encourage everybody to not put too much weight on this. So much more weight goes on what happened in the game, which is why after weeks and weeks of training camp, we watched the games and went, Darnold's number 2. Games are the real deal. So, I mean, I guess I agree, but I would encourage everybody. It's not about not paying attention. If you want to pay attention to the numbers, cool, or whatever. I would just not put too much weight on it. Like I was talking to Kawakami about this today. It's part of the puzzle, right? If you gave a weighting system, it's just not much of it. And once the game starts, it's even less valuable. You could argue it's not valuable at all once the games start. And then when you factor in how much Brock played last year and what he did for him in terms of like a competition, it doesn't matter at all. Michael asked, why isn't there more live rep throwing in practice in general? It's a pretty healthy percentage of practice, but a practice like today is maybe an hour and a half, and you've got your warm up, you got your special teams, you got your individual drills. Yesterday, they did a drill in practice where the defensive backs go with the defensive line coach, Chris Kasarik, And he screams at them the way he screams at the big boys as they practice blitzing off the edge and trying to strip the quarterback. So there was a lot going on that it's just hard to squeeze all that in. And I would say they spend a lot of time in team. It's hard to, you're calling plays. It's each play probably takes 30 seconds. You got to set it up. So it's just, you don't have a lot of time to get all that stuff in. Is Brock playing in the preseason? Great question. Don't know. Kyle seemed yesterday to kind of say maybe, but maybe not. Depends. He said he hadn't decided how many starters are playing. Brock's getting a big workload in practice. And when that happens, tends to be an indicator that he's not going to get as big a workload in the game. They don't practice tomorrow and they play on Saturday. So I said at the beginning of the week, I thought he might play in this game. Now I'm not so sure that he'll play. Lee says Darnold's number 2 from a preseason game. 55 starts don't matter. They don't matter to Kyle. Kyle doesn't give a shit about what happened in New York 3 years ago. Like, I know we talk about what he did a lot, rightfully so. We should talk about what he did. As far as we know, that is the evidence of him in a game. But the 49ers signed him on the first day of free agency. They don't care about his 55 starts. They don't care. He does not give a shit what Sam Darnold did playing for the Panthers. He does not care what Sam Darnold did playing for, who the hell was the Jets coach? Was it Googly Eye guy? Doesn't matter. It does not matter to Kyle. Now, maybe he'll play this year. Maybe he won't. I don't know. And eventually we'll get to know whether or not that's who he was or not. But they're giving him a shot. Somebody said something earlier I want to get back to in the chat. Somebody said, based on something I said, I want to address this real quick, but I'll make sure I get the wording right. Somebody asked about what I said about Darnold. I just want to make sure oh, here we go. Guy, remember when you said Darnold could overtake Purdy as QB1? I think he saw that one to prove you wrong. No, that wasn't it. Oh, here we go. Randall, please tell me you didn't say I see Ghost Darnold can challenge Purdy. Come on, man. You're better than that. What I said was he's lurking and it's going to be a regular season thing. I've had a lot of people that I've talked to, like not on the internet, even though I love talking to you guys on the internet in real life, say they think I've gone a little too bullish on how it could play out. But what I said and what I'll continue to say is Brock Purdy is the unquestioned starter of the 49ers. If he plays poorly for an extended stretch, then I think Kyle will want to see Sam Darnold more than maybe even some other backup quarterbacks. That's kind of the premise. He likes Sam. He's liked Sam for a while. Sam now has impressed him. Sam looked good in the game the other day. He'll get another chance this Saturday, then another chance. We got 2 more games. But that's what I've said. It's not that he's going to challenge him. It's not that if Brock's playing okay and the Niners are winning, that Sam's going to take his job. It's just as simple as if he's playing poorly for an extended period, they have another guy that I think Kyle would like to see. That's what I've said. That he still has more to prove. Brock still has to keep proving it. If he keeps proving it, then he keeps being the starter. That's how it works. You hit your Q1 goals as a sales guy, and then Q2 comes around and you got to do it again. And then Q3 and then Q4. I'd be like, that's how it works. In everything, including quarterbacking. Googly eyes, Adam Gase. Thank you. Can we get Juice in here to help us understand GFF grading? We need a Harvard mind. I mean, forget about understanding the grading. Somebody just do the math on Darnold would probably save us. You're real. Marcellus said Steve Young's take on Trey was spot on. He came out trying not to fail instead of playing with his hair on fire. That was clear. Did Steve just say that, or was that an old take? I am open to the possibility that this Saturday Trey looks better than he did this past Sunday based on just how timid he was to throw the football. Now the counter could be, he's been in the system. Well, how could you be that timid now? This is year 3 here, right? You can't be that timid. Not anymore. Been around the system. Shouldn't you just know the system and cut it loose? Legitimate point. Alec, yeah, that's right. 100K in revenue 2 months ago. Nobody cares. Sorry, bro. Do your grades take red zone performance into account? If not, what's your analysis? No. I mean, I note when I do the thing, red zone, but I think Brock's been the best in the red zone. But I haven't. Those numbers don't take that into account. Martinez says too much being made from one start. If Trey would have balled out, people would scream, it's only one game. No, if Trey would have balled out, I think the result would have been we got a real competition going on with him and Sam, which is what I was saying at the beginning of camp. Darnold's ahead of him. Oh, Steve said that yesterday. Yeah. Anthony, what's going to be the ultimate irony is, in the end, Kyle will need Trey in the same way he needed Jimmy because of the way he treats players. Karma always gets him. This brings us to a discussion about Jimmy and his relationship with the organization and Trey and his relationship with the organization. I think they have very different relationships with the organization, right? Jimmy got a surgery they didn't tell them about. And it was a major point of contention between him and the team. And, there were other things like that along the way. That has not been the relationship with Trey, I think, has been much more positive. Like when I watch them in practice, there's a lot of interaction between quarterbacks. Actually, think about this. When Brock took over last year, you remember how involved Trey was on the sideline, presumably in the preparation as well? I think there was a story about it, but you could see it during games. Like Trey was very involved in trying to help Brock Purdy. That's part of the reason why the Niners like him and why his teammates like him. That's, you didn't see as much, at least to the eye, you didn't see as much of that from Garoppolo. So, I think there's a value in keeping Trey around. And I've said this repeatedly. I would keep him around, even if Darnold's the number 2, because A, he may end up playing. But B, I think he's proven to be a useful part of your organization, even when he's not playing, which is kind of critical for a backup quarterback. I remember somebody telling me, this would have been 2 years ago, about a situation in which the starting quarterback on a team thought that the backup quarterback was pretty useless on game day. And so he requested that the third string quarterback be promoted to the active game day roster so that he could help, because the backup was, like I said, so uninvolved in managing, giving him feedback from the sidelines. So that stuff matters to guys, and it matters to coaches. And clearly Trey was not too good for that last year, and I think he gets a lot of credit for that. Guy, let's get some Raiders content pumping. Yeah, Raider guy. Raider guy thinks the Raiders have a shot to be solid. I don't know what solid means exactly, but I'll tell you what it means. It means not being the last place team in the AFC West. What was your take about the way Kyle responded when he was asked about how the media has been treating Trey yesterday? I was in that press conference. I thought it was a fair question. And I thought he gave a very NFL answer. Comes with the territory. You have to be careful if you're Kyle when you answer that question, because there's a way you could answer it that almost sounds like you need to go rushing to Trey's defense, and you don't want to send that message that Trey like needs you to be there for him to support him when he is going through. And I think Kyle had the right perspective. It feels like in this moment in time, no one's been treated more unfairly, but there was a guy at practice today. I saw him, Alex Smith, and he's on a long list of quarterbacks. And what Kyle said was accurate. When you're a quarterback and you're highly drafted, you are just going to be in the middle of you're going to be in the eye of the storm all the time. Trey needs Jim Harbaugh to smack his shoulder pads pregame. That is, that's a very, that's one of Jim's great qualities. I don't think Michigan wins the national championship this year. I heard somebody picked them today. I think they'd be really good. I really question Jim Harbaugh's ability to do the little things in the biggest games consistently right enough to win a championship. Something is just always a little off in those big moments. I shouldn't say always, often enough. And you have to hit so many of those moments in a row to win a title. And just with Michigan, and with the Niners, it's just always a little off. And you can get to the playoff. I mean, they're good. Their Big Ten schedule is actually pretty beneficial. Like, they've got a good schedule this year. Yeah, maybe they're too tight, whatever it is. Wait a second. They committed to Alex Smith for 4 years. They've committed to Trey for 4 games. I said this to somebody today. We're going back and forth on Twitter. Somebody made a good point to me. They were like, Gardner Minshew would make a better. How did this go? Gardner Minshew would be better right away. The point was Gardner Minshew would be better right away than Anthony Richardson, but you don't see the Colts going with Anthony Richardson. I thought it was a good point. But I think this Alex Smith point kind of also applies here, which is the 49ers stunk for a long time. If this team was in full rebuilding mode when they drafted Trey Lance, even with the injuries, would have played a lot more games than he's played at this point. Year one, he would have played. I mean, now he had to deal with the finger, and then he broke his ankle. So how many more games, but that's, they were in a position where they were trying to win. You remember those the quarterbacks they had over that stretch were, they kept trying to replace him and they couldn't. That was the other thing. They kept trying to replace Alex and they couldn't do it because it was a mishmash. Guy has more hair on his chest than I have on my head. Time to drink some Tito's. Bro, it's too much. It is too much. And I shaved this morning. If I could never shave my face again, I would. But you know what it turns out? Facial laser is, they say, extraordinarily painful. And I'm not willing to do it. No, I didn't hear Steve's CanBR assessment. If you were GM, would you trade Purdy for Jameis? I'm going to need a better. No. Am I missing something on that one, though? Why would I do that? Not a good look for me. And hot and itchy. Yeah, this is a company. You can go to their website. You can buy State Apparel. The guy's name is Jason. He had an awesome golf shop. For those of you that are in Northern California, if you know the area, in San Francisco on Fillmore Street, near what's called the Triangle, which is like 3 bars. But he had an awesome golf shop called State Apparel, and this was the logo. And he had just put in, great guy, really good, like It's super breathable. If you can go find the shirt on his website, I recommend it. And he's got pants and belts and whatever, but he just put in a TrackMan just pre-pandemic, and he'd have like monthly kind of open house, cooler of beer, come hang, meet people who like golf and play on the TrackMan, or you could rent the TrackMan, and then close during the pandemic. But it was awesome. He also, if you go to that website, has golf club head covers. I have one on my driver that are made out of sailboat sails. Cool. It's like it stays on snug, and it's lightweight, and it doesn't, like some of those like leather head covers are kind of fake leather and they peel. This is not the case. So it's yeah, it's good. So that's what that is. Love this shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. Troy Smith, David Carr, JT O'Sullivan, Ken Dorsey. Was Cody Pickett in that mix? I got to go back and look through the recommendations on a putter. I'm using my OG. I'm never going to change. Monza. Now they just call it the Spider, but the original Monza Spider. It's a tank. It's kind of looks like Brian Harmon's putter. It's like the big version of what Dustin Johnson uses, and I love it. So I'm a fan of the Spider putter, because I think like you can spend a lot of money on putters that are beautiful. How does it actually help you, and from a technological standpoint? And I just like the weight of the Spider putter. I'm a fan. What's the news on our punter? Yeah, Wisnowski was out there banging balls today. Had some fake punts. I actually took a photo of a fake punt throw that Wisnowski made that I'll put on my Instagram. Check out my Instagram is just like my my handle here. And I've been taking some pictures out at Niners practice. I'll put a few up. I think today, Nate Davis, Tim Rattay. So, all right. Here's what I got to do. I got to go double check the Darnold numbers. Hopefully, people who watch the video at the beginning and notice see us correct it, and update that just for the sake of being mathematically accurate. Don't want any holes in the data. And yeah, we'll be back Saturday. They got a game, so barring some breaking news before then, we'll have some reaction to that game. And if you're watching, like the video. If you're here right now, like that video. Moody did not kick a bunch today, but he made a couple. So today was a good day. He's been good. He's been good in practice. He's got to do it in the games. You know, that's a great example of like practice first game, practice kickers, practice first game, practice first game, practice first game. Games matter. Games matter. Games matter. And this will be outside now. So this will be some pressure this week, I think, for him. Yeah. All right. Hit that like button. If you're here, helps it grow. The more you like the video, more people see the video, and all that. I need strokes, dog. Okay. I've said goodbye 3 times, so this time I'm leaving. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging.